the 10th of October. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this press conference being hosted by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. Today we address a critical issue that touches on agriculture in terms of national security, public health, and economic activity and sustainability within the Commonwealth. The proper and legal way to import fresh produce and meats into the Commonwealth of Dominica. We are here not just to share this information, but to foster a culture of compliance and accountability within the import and export of fresh produce. So we are here to educate the public on the importance of following legal procedures, as I have stated, for these commodities, with a goal to safeguarding our biosecurity and food safety, preventing the introduction of pest and disease and invasive species, supporting local agriculture as we always advocate, and also, as I said, ensuring compliance with national and regional laws and regulations, example CARICOM, etc. So in terms of our agenda today, we have with us Mr. Kian Stevenson, Director of Agriculture Acting, Mr. Ali Faloda, Acting Technical Officer Projects and Services, Ms. Linessa Gordon-Ferrara, Acting Head of Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit, and Dr. Lennox Sentami, Head of the Livestock Development Unit and Chief Veterinarian. And we will have with us one of our senior quarantine officers to just give us an everyday example of how we operate after we've stated all what we want the public to understand. So we're moving right along now, and we will welcome Mr. Kian Stevenson to give us some more information.
All right, good morning, Petra. Good morning, staff. Good morning, the listening public, locally and regionally and internationally. As we're moving into our Creole season and then into our Christmas season, we know this is a heightened period of persons wanting to move agricultural produce in and out of the country. And we know as a nature island, we have to protect our agricultural produce. And often persons don't understand the reasons for the high vigilance of plant protection, or as we know it, the quarantines, the persons in the white and green at the airports. So we just found this press conference fitting at this time of year to make persons, our returning diaspora, our everyday travelers, our tourists, and everybody, our everyday public, just to be aware of the reasons and the importance of plant protection and quarantine. As we know, Dominica has always been an agricultural country. We have always prided ourselves in our agriculture. Agriculture has always been the backbone of our economy, our GDP, from 17% GDP. You know, we have the goal right now to make agriculture contribute even more to our GDP, the 700 million by 2030. So with that, we must and we have always protected our agriculture and our biodiversity. Apart from our agriculture, food is first, but also our lush biodiversity. And you know, as an island, the best way to protect your biodiversity from pests and disease and is whatever is not in, keep it out. Right? Prevention is better than cure. Right? So hence the reasons for plant protection and quarantine. Right? Historically, we have had our bananas. We have always been a banana country. We have had our citrus. We have had our coconuts. Historically, these items have always been prohibited entry into Dominica, right, through quarantine. So if you come in with any of these materials, they will be taken away from you, confiscated. Why? To protect our agriculture. You don't want these bringing in any pests, any disease that may be detrimental to our agricultural industry. So right now, even presently, we are promoting our 5 C's. The same coconut, the same citrus, the same cocoa, the same coffee, and right now cannabis. We have our 4 P's, we have our pineapples, we have our papayas, we have our passion fruits. We have to protect these crops. We have our vegetables, high-end vegetables, trying to reduce imports. We have to protect these crops. We also have our livestock. You know the threat of, we heard bird flu, swine fever, all different kind of things that's out there. We don't want these things coming in here and messing up our agriculture. So sometimes you may be bringing in your hams, your turkeys, and you're wondering why the quarantine officers are confiscating those things. These meat products, if not consumed or when consumed, when disposed of, may have certain contaminants, if not properly checked, that may get into our agricultural system, destroy our pig, destroy our poultry. We haven't got the kind of monies and resources to control them. Prevention is better than cure. So that is why we are here today, finding this press conference at this time of year very fitting, to really inform the public, because awareness and education is much better, so that this would protect our quarantine officers, protect our island, educate the traveling public as to the do's, the don'ts, and the importance of all this. So really, we really looking to talk to the general public, our exporters, our importers, the private sector, even the supermarkets, and persons traveling. This will protect our biodiversity, protect our food security, and food sovereignty. So with this, I think I've said a little, and I will hand back over to the moderator. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevenson, for that, for setting the tone in terms of why we are here. As we said, the importance of the regulations, not just as a measure to restrict persons, but to protect Dominica's agriculture. We are now moving on to Ms. Loda, who will also give us the purpose of the press conference as projects, technical officer, projects and services.
Good morning. Good morning to all. This today is important, mainly because as a country, we're an agriculturally based nation. And of course, it's important to protect our biodiversity. It's important to protect what feeds us, our agriculture. It's important to protect, of course, what, of course, gives us an income. And we are here this morning simply to increase, of course, public awareness on the importance of our quarantine officers on our sea and airports. These men and women at our sea and airports are protecting Dominica's wealth. Of course, de-risking using quarantine services involves reducing the risk of introducing pests and diseases into our country, our region, through strict control measures. Quarantine services play a crucial role in this process by inspecting imports and exports for pests and diseases, enforcing regulations and standards for plants and animals products, conducting surveillance and monitoring for early detection, implementing biodiversity protocols for stakeholders. By de-risking through quarantine operations, our country, Dominica, we are protecting agricultural industries and ecosystems, preventing economic losses from pests and diseases, ensuring compliance with international trade and agreements and standards, and of course last, safeguarding human health and the environment. Our quarantine operations at our sea and airports play a critical role in safeguarding your income, safeguarding your food security, and safeguarding our nature isle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Loda, for that forceful reinforcement of what Mr. Stevenson mentioned in terms of biosafety, biosecurity, and ensuring Dominica's agricultural sector remains somewhat where farmers can obtain a livelihood and we can get fresh vegetables, meats, and fish locally without the fear of contamination, without the fear of invasive species, etc., risking what we have. So we now move on to the meat of our press conference, and that is the Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit, directly responsible for the quarantine officers who are based at the 7 air and seaports around the island. She will give more detail on that and as to why we have convened in terms of an update for the general public. As we have said previously, this is the heightened season of importation. Our culture is hinged on our food and our drink, not just the music. And so therefore, I pass over now to Ms. Linessa Gordon-Ferrara, Acting Head of Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit.
Good morning, all. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge those with me at the head table: the Director of Agriculture, Mr. Stevenson, Ms. Loda, Technical Officer, Projects and Services, Dr. Lennox Sentimi, Petra Shillingford, and Roy Humphreys. Thank you all for coming. I acknowledge the media as well. We appreciate you all coming today. So, as was said before, today I'll be highlighting the requirements and procedures for importation and exportation of agricultural commodities. This is to make the public aware for those who do not know and to remind persons who may already know. So first I'll start with the requirements for the importation of agricultural commodities. So we would like persons to know that all plants and plant products and other regulated articles such as media, soil media, imported into Dominica must comply with the following conditions. A valid import permit must be obtained from Plant Protection and Quarantine prior to the shipment from the exporting country. Because based on the requirements given on an import permit, you will know how to bring in that commodity, in what way, what conditions. So we would urge you to review the import permit when it's given to you, because there will be listed requirements, specific requirements for the commodity you would like to bring in. So we would like to ensure compliance with these measures. Each consignment from an exporting country must be accompanied by a phytosanitary certificate. So we give you an import permit here, but you get a phytosanitary certificate from the exporting country. It must be issued by the competent authority from that exporting country. All consignments must be free from soil, pests, and other contaminants. And the shipments, as I said before, may have specific phytosanitary treatments that may be required, so that should be taken into consideration. Upon arrival, all consignments are to be inspected by quarantine officers at the ports of entry. Non-compliant consignments can be detained for further laboratory analysis, or they may be confiscated and destroyed. For example, as the director previously mentioned, there are things that are restricted from entry into Dominica, such as citrus, coconut, soil. Such things, it is just confiscated and destroyed. So the inspection and quarantine process. As I said, when your commodity comes, a quarantine officer will inspect it to ensure that it's free from pests and is compliant with the import requirements. When necessary, samples may be taken for laboratory testing, and consignments may be held in quarantine for further examinations. So sometimes persons may find that we may be taking a while with their commodity. Why haven't you released it to me yet? There may be a risk that we have noticed, and we need to investigate further, especially when you do not comply with the import requirements or if you brought in something without a permit. So we urge the public to please cooperate with us. What we are trying to do, as mentioned before, is to safeguard Dominica's agriculture and biodiversity from harmful pests and diseases, and so that we can continue to access international markets. Okay, next we're going on specifically to the importation of seeds. All shipment of seeds for planting must be accompanied by a phytosanitary certificate from the country of origin. To obtain this certificate, the exporter must have an import permit from us. So it's the same as mentioned before. But key requirements for seeds includes the application may take up to 20, the processing of an application may take up to 21 working days. At times, persons may import seeds from companies that are not listed on our approved list. And this therefore requires that we conduct what is called a pest risk analysis to determine the risk associated with these seeds coming from a company that we are not familiar with. There may not have been certain measures done, certain treatments done, and so it takes time. So that's why we ask the public. There are already a list of approved companies that you can choose to import from. We urge you to do so. Again, as with all other agricultural commodities, the seeds must be free from soil, plant debris, foreign matter, and pests, such as insects, viruses, mites. That is one of the main concerns with seeds. Viruses, they can be very detrimental to our agriculture. All seed packages must be properly sealed, labeled in English, and conform to standards recognized by the International Seed Federation. So importers must present both the phytosanitary certificate and import permit to the quarantine officers at the ports of entry when they come in with these seeds. And as with the other agricultural commodities, it will be inspected upon arrival by the quarantine officer, and non-compliant consignments can be intercepted for further analysis or confiscated. I now move on to export requirements. As with Dominica, who requires an import permit for commodities, so too all other countries have their requirements, and most countries require you to have an import permit. The onus lies on you, the exporter, to determine what the country that you're sending your produce to or going to with your produce, what their requirements are. For persons who may be coming for the festivals and may be going, for example, to the UK, but may have to pass through other countries and spend a few days, each place that you go to, once you bring in that commodity into that person's country, you need to have an import permit for them. So please take note. So before export, all commodities are inspected by the quarantine officers again on the day of travel, not a week before, because you may change what you put in that consignment. There may be further contaminants before that day. So on the day of travel, officers are at every port, as mentioned before. Even packages being sent through the courier services, that very day, they have to be inspected by a quarantine officer at the nearest port. So for example, the courier services in Roseau, persons may go to the ferry terminal. And inspection is done, your phytosanitary certificate is given based on the importing requirements of that country. Okay? Last but not least, accessing import permits application forms online. So import permit application forms can be accessed online via the government website. You could go to agriculture.gov.dm. Under services, you will find the application form. So this can be filled out on your computer and submitted to agriquarantine@gmail.com, agriquarantine@gmail.com. Your applications must be in at least 5 days before the arrival of your goods. The import permit fee is $10. The phytosanitary certificate fee, which is given at the ports when stuff is going out, correction. The import permit is 10 EC dollars. The phytosanitary certificate is $5. All payments and collections of import permits are done here at Vanos House, Goodwill Road. So you cannot pay and collect online, but you can apply online. So this is it for me. Any further information that is required by the public, you can contact us here at Plant Protection and Quarantine Services. You could come in person to Vandos House on Goodwill Road, or you can call us at 266-3803 or 3828, or you can email us at agriquarantine@gmail.com. So thank you all, and let us work together to continue to protect Dominica's agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ferrara, for that extensive explanation. And I'm sure that the phone numbers and the contact information you give will assist the general public also to follow up and to get more specific information to their particular needs. Before we go on to Dr. Sentami, I just want to reiterate the ports of entry on island. They are as follows: the Douglas Charles Airport, the Canefield Airport, the Rosa Ferry Terminal, Longhouse in Portsmouth. Sometimes we utilize the Cabritz, as we will be doing now, with the Express de Zille Courier ferry service, the Ansdime Port, and of course Woodbridge Bay, where the bulk of our produce and products come in. So just to reiterate that, remember also that our payments are cash payments. We do not use card or any electronic payments. And for businesses, they are approved businesses by the government system in terms of the Accountant General, what we accept, and we also will give more information on the process flow. So we move on now to Dr. Sentami in terms of the importation of meat products and dairy products. As you know, the Livestock Development Unit is responsible for the production and protection of the livestock industry, and this will encompass what he will speak on. So Dr. Sentami.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be there. So I'll just be discussing in terms of the import requirements for meat and meat products. One of the problems are most times people would ask, why do we have to get an import permit? So I think it's very important to explain to them why we should do that. So import permits are essential to ensure the health and safety of the population and the livestock industry. So permits are required to prevent the introduction of disease and to ensure imported meats and meat products are safe for consumption. So that's the main purpose why we request people to get an import permit. So in terms of the import requirements for meats and meat products, so an import permit is required if you're to import meat and meat products. So when I talk about meat and meat products, I'm talking about pork, poultry, sheep, goats. And in terms of dairy products, that is milk, eggs, and cheese. So the process for application, so the process for that, you come you apply directly to the Vandos House. You request the import permit. So in terms of that, what we really need, you need us to provide us with your name, your address, where the product is coming from, where the product, and then we issue the permit based on commodities, because what we say for the meat. We have in terms of a permit is required for each different type of meat items. So if you come for a permit for chicken and for beef, that is 2 permits, and so that's two permits. So what we require is that that permit will cost you $10 because each permit is $10. So that's in terms of our requirements for permits. So when they come and then we issue the import permit. The permit is valid for 30 days. So most people will come and after they import the thing, but look, we want you to come before you travel, or if your loved ones are sending you the product. So like a permit is not is not like a import. You apply for that before you go, because you have 30 days that's valid for 30 days. So you don't make your parents import the thing and then come to us for import permit. You actually you're breaking the law because you're coming without an import permit. And if you come without an import permit, you're liable for that product to be confiscated and destroyed. So some of the general things that I need people to understand when we are in terms of meat and meat products, so those general guidelines in terms of when people when you importing meat. So like I say, before you get the product, you need an import permit. And then does the process, all meats and meat products must be in the original sealed commercial packaging, which is labeled clearly to show the type of meat, country of origin, and inspection marks. So that is very important. And you may bring up to 30 pounds per person for non-commercial use, for non-commercial importers. So if that's for people that want to bring their products, you can bring up to 30 pounds. Well, for the general importers and things, they need to get their health certificate in terms of import. But for the general public, you can bring up to 30 pounds without a health certificate. And also important, so products that have been removed from their commercial packaging and products that are not properly packaged and labeled. Let's say you go to a country, you bought some local pork from the market. You cannot just put it in a plastic bag. What we wanted to do, even though you put it in, it has to be labeled pork, chicken, whatever that's in that product. If the product comes to Dominica, just in the plastic bag with no labels, that product is liable to be confiscated because we don't know what is that, we don't know where it comes from. So we need to know exactly, clearly labeled things you bring in from your people. And upon arrival, you must declare that you have meat products to the quarantine officers or custom officers. So, and what most important, if you're not sure, it's always wise to say you have something there, so and then they'll advise you on what the process to go. So, thus, in closing, like I would say, failure to declare any product of animal origin will result in immediate confiscation of the product, and you may be fined. So, if in doubt, declare. So, I just want to let the general public know why we're doing this import permit is for your protection and to ensure that Dominican agriculture remains safe and free from pest and disease. I thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Sentami. And I'm sure that in terms of the penalties, you clearly stated it in terms of, if you look at the customs declaration on the landing card, you see you need to declare all your meat, fresh produce, and plant seeds, etc. Failure to do so can amount to a fine of 10,000 US EC dollars, I believe. So we will get more into that. But right now we come to just a practical example. So we've given you all the back information and all the regulations, etc. But just an example, we have with us senior quarantine officer, Mr. Roy Humphreys. He has been of the face of quarantine, I should say, for a number of years now. And he will give you an overview as to the daily operations of a quarantine officer, but most importantly, the procedure for the importation of these commodities that we've stated. Mr. Humphreys.
Good morning to everybody. Okay. Let me just give you a synopsis of what the Plant Quarantine Unit is all about. So the Plant Protection and Quarantine Service continues to safeguard Dominica's agricultural integrity and natural biodiversity through vigilant inspection and regulatory control of plants, plant products, and other regulated articles entering and leaving the country. The unit's operations are guided by international standards established by the International Plant Protection Convention, IPPC, and the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, ensuring that Dominica remains compliant with global phytosanitary requirements. An overview of our daily operations. Every day, quarantine officers conduct official inspections at ports of entry, export facilities, and postal centers to detect and prevent the introduction or spread of plant pests and diseases. Their work involves sampling consignments, inspecting cargo, vessels, aircraft, and verifying phytosanitary documentation in accordance with ISPM 5 and related international standards. These activities help ensure that agricultural trade is safe and sustainable while protecting local ecosystems. Let's talk about the procedures for handling and disposal of confiscated goods. Any item found to be infested, contaminated, or in violation of import or export requirements is detained and evaluated, Depending on the risk level, such goods are treated, re-exported, or destroyed under the supervision of quarantine officers. Disposal is carried out in a biosecure manner, typically through burning to prevent pest escape and protect plant health. Our expectations of the public during export and import processes. Importers and exporters are reminded that cooperation with quarantine officers is essential. All consignments must be accompanied by valid phytosanitary certificates, import permits, and other relevant documents. Members of the public are encouraged to declare all plant and animal materials upon arrival. Transparency during inspection helps expedite clearance and maintain Dominica's compliance with international trade protocols. So, we at the quarantine unit, our job is basically to safeguard agriculture. We work together with customs, health, in tandem to try to safeguard our agriculture. So we're asking the public to please be, sympathetic with us sometimes, because we get a lot of bad reps from the public, especially when we confiscate the items, and we're asking them to be a little more compliant in terms of listening to why we confiscate their stuff, and what is the reason, and what is the benefit for the country. Because a lot of times they make noise with us and tell us, oh, we are stealing their stuff. It's not about that. We confiscate stuff because there are reasons for confiscating produce. We're trying to safeguard our agriculture, and a lot of times when we take stuff, there are very good reasons, especially if we find something that has a mealybug or something that has a pest on it, or it has soil. Even people bringing in shoes, travelers bringing back there, they have their backpack and they have their shoes in it, it's full of soil, we have to confiscate it. They are not too happy, but we have to confiscate it. So we're asking the public to please be vigilant. On another note, we help the vet unit because we also do animal inspections. We are the ones doing animal inspections, and when the vet units they issue an import permit, the quarantine officers are the ones on the front lines verifying that the import permit is actually adhered to. Okay, so we do the inspections, we inspect the animals, and if we reach a certain point where it's out of our boundaries as trained vet persons, we call the vet officers to come and assist us. Okay? Now, one of the functions of quarantine is to get rid of items that we have confiscated. So a lot of the items that we confiscate, we have to incinerate, because you cannot confiscate somebody's stuff, and the reason you're confiscating it is because it is not supposed to be entering the country, and then you have it exposed after you confiscate it. So most of the times when we confiscate stuff, we bring it in for incineration. So it is incinerated at the botanical gardens. So yeah. What else I can think of? Well, that's basically it for we verify. We are the ones verifying import permits. Whenever import permits are issued, we are the ones who verify them and make sure they are just like we do the animal import permits. We are responsible for the plant import permits. So whenever somebody comes in with anything plant-wise, quarantine is the one who will check your import permit, make sure it's okay, and we do our inspection, and we let you go with your stuff. Okay? That's basically it for me. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. As I said, Mr. Humphreys is a frontline officer senior, and he is well acquainted and well versed. And I know he looks forward to the season, but he looks forward to compliance. So that is why we're here. Remember, when we look at persons coming in, we have a number of flights, a number of also the ferries making a number of trips, and just think of over 300 persons at one time with 1 or 2 quarantine officers doing their due diligence. We also want to remember that the Ministry of Agriculture also has a fisheries division, and also it's not as active as the meat and the leafy the vegetables, but persons do import varieties of fish, so codfish, calamari, mussels, etc. So lobsters, shrimp, the fancy, the young people like the shrimp alfredos, etc. So we're saying also the importation of fish it takes place at the Fisheries Division. The same protocols are followed, but you go to the Fisheries Division on Bayfront in Roseau for that, at the Roseau Fisheries Complex, to get that. The opening hours are same as with us, 8 to 4. However, the cashier closes at 3 with all government departments. So please note that. I know we have a number of questions, so we can go ahead with those.
First of all, pertinent information from the panel. Right? I'm thinking Creole Festival, and most of what I'm hearing there needs to be packaged in a quick pack kind of a way. You understand? For the social media, TikTok, So, because what he's saying, Mr. Humphrey said, is very important. What you always say is very important. For people coming to Dominica Creole Festival, what strategies do we have for dissemination?
Okay, well, yes. So just to note that we do have a number of public awareness tools already. We do have our jingles. We do have our interviews. This is something that is not new, but we are saying because it's 25 in 25, and Dominica is basically coming alive from the 18th of October, not Creole Festival. From the 18th, we start at Rise and Wine, and then we go to TV Lash Creole, and then we go to Ridge, and then we go to Gopwell, and then we go to Creole Festival, and then we go to Watto, and then we go to 4th November Independence. So for 2 weeks, I know we will anticipate thousands of people on island. So therefore, and we know we need to feed them, and therefore our cooks, our chef, our culinary artisans, they too may not get the volumes that they require. Our farmers have come a long way. They have been beefing up production, but climate change, etc. And so therefore we are saying we're just reminding the general public. So and those persons who are new. So right now, if you're still overseas, we want you to just be cognizant of the time factor, of the process flow, so that you basically, as we say in Dominica, don't get into a jam. But we have been having persons calling or reaching out to us, looking at our Facebook page. We do have a Facebook page. We do have the government's website. So we have been making strides. We're just doing gentle reminders to assist our quarantine officers, assist our other departments.
Another question, on the last one. Stevenson, as Director of Action, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Humphrey spoke about incineration. I know that there was some equipment, but the question is there equipment to ensure proper incineration? Because there's some equipment is at the landfill.
All right. Yes. As we're moving to biosecurity and to strengthen our quarantine, yes, the government has procured incinerators for the proper incineration and disposal of confiscated plant and animal products. So yes, as you mentioned, there is one at the landfill, and there is also one in Portsmouth area where you have higher levels of confiscation and whatnot, because you wouldn't want those materials traveling too far. So what Mr. Humphreys did not mention, in confiscating, there are also freezers on those spots of entries where those goods are, once confiscated, are immediately frozen to prevent the risk of transmission, commingling, or contamination. So when they are being transported to being incinerated, they are already in a frozen state and not in the state that they were confiscated from the consignment. So that has to be noted, I know we in Dominica, we like to connect the dots. So we also have to be cognizant of those procedures and protocols that are taken to ensure that once confiscated, there is no further risk of contamination on island. So yes. So and just as there, I just want to mention, because as Petra rightfully mentioned, when you watch on the customs declaration form in coming in part 2A, so we talk about fruits, plants, cut flowers, vegetables, soil, meat, live animals and organisms, honey, very important. We don't want the importation of honey. We pride ourselves. We see our apiary and our honey keepers winning awards internationally, regionally. So we want to protect our apiaries and our honey industry. We don't want no mites and so come in and destroy, right? So honey is very important. Wildlife products, plant materials, food, animal products such as cheese, milk. We know we are self-sufficient on eggs. In Dominica, we don't import eggs. So, these are some of the things we have to be considered, mindful of. Plant material, food material, animal products, or live birds or animals. So these are some of the things, because as persons come in, diaspora, and we travel as ourselves, our palette, we see things out there, we see pretty plants, we see things that we may not have tasted before. Our bars are increasing, our restaurants are improving. We may see certain things that we may want to import to introduce to our bars, our restaurants, and so hence just being aware of those things and being just if each one protect one, and whilst we grow, we still protect the nature island that we still depend on, right? Yes.
Okay, anybody has any comments? So we just say thank you very much to the general public for tuning in. I know we've been getting a number of messages already, so thank you for that. We have an open door policy, and we are located on Valos House, named after our prolific banana farmer, and right next to the 8 Bank, right adjacent from the 8 Bank on Goodwill Road. So you cannot miss us right there. This is where we're located, no longer at the Botanic Gardens. Some persons are still getting confused by that. So once again, we want to say that ideally, we should not be importing anything into Dominica as an agricultural country. However, it's a global village. And so therefore, we are very diverse in terms of what we want to eat, what we want to drink. But however, there are parameters and there are regulations, and we just want the support of the general public, as compliance is much better, and we don't want to have anybody penalized or have to be confiscating and adding to the carbon footprint. So once again, thank you very much, and we look forward to having a great independence season. You do better. They will do the Creole. Yeah, anybody can speak Creole? Nobody?